it's Pigsy. Got another video. Just thought some fasting again, actually, because I'm a sort of, I guess, long-term OMAD. I would probably sum it up. 1 meal a day to try to focus. And if you slip, then you can just bring it back in, be a bit more stricter. You know, it could be just the certain circumstances. And that happens sometimes, that you just got a situation whereby, you know, a family function, or suddenly somebody makes you a cup of bloody tea, or gives you something. You can say no to it, but it's usually your families are going to be your main critics, and they're going to test you. They're going to test you all the time. Same with your friends. That's one of the things. Yeah, good. So, sort of some other thoughts as well is that when you push, I think sometimes you suppress your demons with your food. I mean, I know there's a dark side lives in me, something dark. I guess I can call it my demon, actually. And it's probably a good side as well. That's trying to always do the right thing. But that might be some like connection to a higher source. The lower source is kind of projecting on the self, protecting me, and yeah, it's just not useful in situations whereby if you're emotionally sensitive, it tells you you've got to step away, get some space from that person or thoughts. Just dark thoughts come up, you know, like you could be a bit more punchy, I guess. It could be it's sort of hangry, but it's not that. It could be a type of personality in there. Just look at some woman, but wow. Your eyes open up, and I think also if you look better, your skin, people also act differently. Women are very sensitive to good health, so if you're healthy, you know, there's a big difference between a greasy kebab and an Italian bolognese. It's not quite that, but the difference is that the quality of the food, you know, you'd be attracted to different things, different qualities in people. And so if someone's healthy, and who knows, I don't know, there may be smells around that. It may be giving off different hormones and different things. At the moment I've got a weird burning sensation in my chest, actually. It's really odd. I think it's stomach acid. I think there's still, as you progress, there's still things happening internally. Changes. I was looking at my hands, but not so much now. I thought, well, that would be a good talk to talk about, and that is basically when you go through cycles, when your body goes through stress, it stimulates what they call immune responses to different stresses. Your cortisol goes up, and so you go on guard. But also, what's happening is that what they call the immune system is really a maintenance system. Helps to deal with things and gives biofeedback. And what's happening is that it's basically starts growing more blood vessels in the same way that people, when they bodybuild, their veins are more predominant, aren't they, to the muscles. So they need to feed their muscles more. It's stress that the body's aware of, circulation and feeding the muscles. And by doing that, it also compromises itself slightly, because you're more with the veins more open and sort of prominent. They're open to certain types of injuries. So if you're cut and stuff, then you know it's you can get more damage. And so I guess with some of the soft fats, they protect some of that. They rupture, but then they're in the way of any sort of wounding towards any veins. And so what happens with your brown fat is your blood vessels grow into your fats, but I don't think it's just the fats. Basically, it's trying to be more efficient and internally processing your own internal fats. So, in reverse of that, people that are stuffing food in them, there may be changes to their stomach. They may have more veins around their stomach to process larger bulks of food. There may be other issues that the stretching causes. Stretching your stomach out. So, yeah, that's right. You know, with, say, mental conditions, the circulation increases that part of the brain, anxiety and so on. So, it becomes a physical manifestation. And so, in eating a habit, it becomes a physical manifestation. Everything you do is physical and mental at the same time. So, what you're going to have is more blood vessels and go to places where it can get your food from your body, and then the veins are also going to go back to where you need it the most. And I guess your body's quite, I don't know how fast it is to adapt between the two modes, really. That's exactly it. I just want to freak her out a bit, see, at my videos, and the cyclist just in front of me, which is right to do that. And then I guess the other thing as well, if with kind of, I know I'm sort of batting around a little fast at the moment, but with the autophagy and feeling good about yourself, you also might project more confidence. You might be happy when people look at you. You're less self-conscious. You know, your clothes feel better, your stomach's flatter. And also you're more likely to get checked out by people. I had it with like my female boss, and she was because I mentioned about weight loss and so on. Her eyes were casting more than just on my face. She was looking around my body as well. See, she noticed changes. So when people do that, they associate you as a kind of different person. A bit like haircuts. Change your haircut, change your hair colour. You know, go on holiday, things like that. People pick up on these micro signals and micro changes, I guess. And we'll start seeing these different results. And that comes back to what I was saying about the inner demon. The inner demon had probably been there from the beginning. It was there when you were a boy or a girl, and something bad happened to you, and you were angry, and it never manifested it out externally. It internally existed. That's not going to happen again, and sort of created this entity. So it still exists, that's right. I haven't really grown it, but maybe I should grow my own demon or train it in essence. It sounds a bit odd, but if you've got something very primal, let's go back to an analogy maybe of using the Incredible Hulk, and what he started out as is pretty simplistic pure rage. And I guess the idea that it evolves into something more intellectual, because he realises that he needs to kind of unify both sides of himself. However, for the film, I think it's spoiled for some people. They wanted, they wanted the character to remain the same. But anyway, with your kind of your own inner demons, it's that you want to take it and channel it and construct it into effective. And it's got to know why you don't want it. You know, if someone's made you kind of like, if you're at work and you're annoyed, and you might wish, oh, I hope something bad happens to them almost. But this thing is saying you can be that source to cause that. You know, it's in a defensive. It's more defensive mode. Maybe it's a primal instinct. It's survival. It's the voice that says go and eat something. I think somebody was mentioning about these kind of inner voices, but they're inner entities. They're not a kind of mental disorder. Yeah, do you wanna? That's fine. Okay. I didn't know if the daughter rolled this ball on the floor as if you would cognitive impairment. Don't want to show me the ball. I mean, I didn't give a crap about the ball. I thought the daughter had one of them disorders. If I ran over a ball and blew it up or something, so I ran out the road. So yeah, so there's kind of different parts of you, and you become more aware. You strip off the layers, and you reveal your inner self. And these things are part of you, and they just need to be ironed out and sorted out. So, part of it is the polarisation of your own personality. You know, some people might be reverse, they might have a dark side, but they might have the good side, trying to whisper in their ear, trying to get them to do things. So but there's no restriction. I'm allowed to think in dark terms. I just can't act upon them because it's far too destructive. I can't act upon that. You know, like you could level someone down, but if you're dealing with somebody who's more vulnerable, it's quite difficult. You know, some people are, I guess, in denial. That's the problem they have. Like, I've got no issue with people being feminists, but if they're in conflict with they feel they're superior, they need to demonstrate that. But the only issue they could have is that if I act upon my male instincts and they say they're in a vulnerable position, I turn around and intellectually knock them off their pedestal, then they get annoyed, you know. I don't know. I don't want to sort of the contradiction. See, logic over reasoning, it creates things that they might not want to deal with. They might emotionally, we might assume that we're right, say, but then when somebody demonstrates you're wrong, they might say, well, I'm still right. So you're not, unless you can prove yourself otherwise. Or bad manners. I mean, some people are just like, you're not there. You're just like the +1 or the bit on the side. There's a lot of guys that fall into this trap of they're the assistant or PA to women. There's probably women at the reverse actually as well. They've been groomed to sort of support the man. He sort of like support him, and they don't feel like equals. And in them kind of relationships, it's important to have some space so you can develop as an individual. Otherwise, you end up getting sort of suppressed, or it could be that someone's got a very strong personality and they shine out whatever more subtle tones of your own. You know, like somebody's more introvert and artistic. If you've got someone loud and extrovert, it might be quite difficult for them to sort of be channeled. And I think what's missing there is possibly a pairing spiritually. So the other person needs to develop an introvert side, so that he's kind of creating his own entity out of this other person, using their consciousness and understand. And in reverse of that, she might learn skills to be more confident, maybe, or present herself a different way. You know, like someone could be quite introverted, but actually play a character. They go on the stage and tell funny jokes and that, and go back to being themselves. It's only that they can't do it long term because it's not a part of their energy of who they are. It's more they prefer to pull away from crowds and stuff, maybe because they want to focus on their energy into themselves and express it in different forms. So that's important. So that's just kind of consciousness constructs and manifestations and entities, because once you create something, you know, you might think it starts and stops with you, but actually might exist externally to that as well. So they're more in the psyche or psychic field of existence. So I don't know, just a dark thought. So I was thinking kind of like if I met somebody, I won't say the person, but then I was having the thoughts, what would you do if they were acting in a kind of more aggressive manner? And the thing is, you wouldn't want to be your old self and say, well, you know, you did act like that, or did any of this kind of stuff bring up anything as in the past as a shield, because it doesn't exist anymore, that relationship. However, the entity, that darker side, knows all this stuff, and it's the bit that says, come on, she did do this or that or whatever, you know, but they might not actually be aware of it, and so there's no point acting on it. You might just accept they're different, we've got differences, we don't think on the same wavelength, and we also scrub the board clean. It's very difficult. It's a bit like what my mum does. She brings up things from the way in the past, and as a man, you don't really want to do that, and as a woman, it's not that healthy, because you said this or you did that, or I remember when you done this, and I remember when you threw this away, and it was like 20 years ago, and it's like crikey, that was ages ago. You know, why are we still bringing that up? But it said, but you did do it. It's not, yeah. And where do we move from this trauma that's held, crystallized trauma? What do we do with it? And it's not addressing that psyche issue. People that carry around these things, all that they do is they feed them. They say, well, you're like that as well, or I've had years of I hate the thing as someone said. They said I've had years of painful, or it's not painful, sort of toxic relationship, unhealthy relationships, and that's assuming that I'm unhealthy. It projects that, but it also feeds this. They've categorised me as unhealthy in their life, which I'm not perfect, but I can change, and I have my own things I'm balancing out. I might be very patient, very sort of easygoing, but I sometimes need to deal with my own psyche, and like negative thoughts come up. I need to actually meditate and clear myself, because when you're clean, it's easier to get dirty. It's like having a white shirt and going out. It sounds strange, but if you've already got negativity there, you're working with, your body won't absorb any more in. But if you're nice and clean emotionally, you will draw it in. It's understanding that and processing that. And I guess for that darker entity, it's like the guardian or the sentinel that's protecting you, but it's bringing things to your attention, and then you're absorbing it back into your main part of your inner circle, your inner psyche, and you're trying to process that. And you're adding another dimension. I think because it exists, it needs to be fed, and what it feeds on is emotions. And I think you just need to sort of make it an active part of your life, but not let it dominate. I think the easiest way to explain this is that I went through a dark period of my life, and all my anger and everything, or any bitterness, was put aside, and I didn't like it. I didn't like to feel that way, and I was kind of at war with myself. But it's only when I accepted it and I made peace with it that I could move on. And then I realised it could also convert your character. So, like if you're annoyed, you want to get something done, you can channel it into a constructive energy. You could, a bit like if you went to the gym, if you're kind of like angry in some way, or you use some of that energy, drawn it. And it's kind of like you're talking to both sides, right? We're going to push ourselves, because when you suffer, the other bits has to endure. He said, right, we're going to do it, we're going to achieve this. So there's that kind of friction. I mean, you might get in with OMAD. It's part of you might say, well, let's just not bother, and the other part said, look, we're getting results. We are, and it's that kind of focused part, channeled. Gets you up and you go to work, or you do something you might not be so happy with. What if you get like getting in a cold bath? You might think, blow that. But you say, right, well, the benefits outweigh the, any sort of negatives. There isn't really any negatives of a cold bath. I haven't gone in water that's so cold that's kind of wrecked me. And I think I mentioned about that I got in some cold water, and basically the room wasn't spinning around, and I thought, well, that's strange. So I usually put my head, submerge it in there, and it didn't have an issue with it. Anyway, this is Peter signing off, and I'll speak to you soon.